Hey folks, I'm Matt Masur from Growth Mode Content. Welcome to another edition of Good News York. We're very excited. Now, you might notice next to me, that's not Mike. Mike did not suddenly get much better looking and find a new suit. We've got a very special guest joining us to tell us all about the good news here in Central New York, Onondaga County specifically. It's Onondaga County Executive Ryan McMahon. Welcome to Good News York.
Well, thanks for having me.
This is so cool because, as I mentioned, there are so many good things to talk about. One thing I want to shout out is just a basic little disclaimer. If you've watched the show, paid attention to the show, we are excessively good news. We are also apolitical. So even though we've got, I guess you could say, a politician here, we're really here to talk about what's happening. So we're not going to get into any controversies. We're not going to do anything. I don't hear any comments. You didn't hold his feet to the fire. It's not what we're trying to do. Our goal here is to be as positive and bring as much good energy as you could possibly get without a prescription. So that's really kind of our goal here. So with that, I should say, let's dive right into the good news and let's start with the aquarium. How's that? This is something that when it was first announced, I've been incredibly excited about, mostly because we are aquarium people. So we've been to so many different ones all over the country. Absolutely love that. And to have one in our backyard that we can go visit on a regular basis is pretty cool. But I'd love you to, just for folks that don't necessarily know all of what's coming, can you give us just sort of the overview? What are you going to be able to do and see at this new place?
Yeah, I think, and again, this is kind of a unique project, probably the largest investment in cultural infrastructure our community's seen in a long time. And because of that, some people have opinions, right?
Sure.
Strong opinions. But overall, let me just give a little context for those who haven't followed it. One of the first meetings I took in 2018 when I became county executive was from the Friends of the Zoo. And the Friends of the Zoo executive director at that time said, look, we want to do an aquarium. And geez, that's a good idea. How are we going to pay for it? And we didn't have the ability to pay for it in 2018. So fast forward to COVID. COVID happens, 2020, leading the public health response. I run an operation. I run a government, right? 3,500 employees, big budgets. We have to react like the private sector because our main revenue is sales tax. Sales tax tanks. State shuts down economies. 40% revenue hits. So we have to compress in government. We compress, and then by the end of the year, sales tax comes back because the economy opens up. People want to get out and do things. They want to live.
Yeah.
So we ended up only losing like 3 or 4% compared to where we were. So we had this unique time in history of Onondaga County. We had about a $90 million surplus.
Wow.
Never heard of before. So I said, what do we do? Give me a big idea. I talked to my peers on the county legislature, talked to stakeholders, give me a big idea. It's got to be one shot. Right? Because this money's not going to be here year over year. We can't bring on new legacy costs. One shot, let's think of something good. And we went through a lot of different things, but the one thing that came back to was that first meeting in aquarium. And I said, okay. And we wanted to help the hospitality and tourism industries, which were decimated in the pandemic. We wanted to have a piece of educational infrastructure. We're already starting to align ourselves for high-tech manufacturing. We didn't know about what was going to happen after that.
Sure.
And so I said, all right, make sure it's feasible.
Yeah.
We did studies. We actually did 2 studies. It was feasible. Third thing, we said, tell me where are we going to put it? Tell me the best place where. And it actually went, they came to the Inner Harbor. It kind of makes sense. Baltimore's got a great aquarium on the Inner Harbor.
Yeah.
And so then it was about getting it through the process and doing it at a scale that will be big enough to draw people into the community to spend money so that it's actually a piece of workforce recruiting infrastructure for our companies, something that your colleges and institutions can team up with, your elementary and high schools can. And so that's why we did it at the scale we did it. So it's over $100 million investment. If you drive by the Inner Harbor, you will see what is just, it's awesome. I mean, it looks awesome. You
can see it taking shape.
Our vision for it is happening. And it's a catalyst for that neighborhood investment. If you look across the street at the Iron Pier, you've had 2 businesses in the last 2 months commit to go there. Peacock Restaurant, Sapphire Recruiting Agency. this gives momentum to all that.
100%.
For a lot of the housing, we have a hotel, that's another hotel that will get developed there. They reference the aquarium is why they chose it. But it's going to be a freshwater and saltwater aquarium, similar to Chattanooga, Tennessee.
Okay.
And so think of like the freshwater, the Catskills and the Adirondacks, and a little bit about the cleanup and the history of Onondaga Lake. Okay. And then it's going to transition into, what are, these amazing exotic saltwater exhibits that people travel across the country, like yourself and your family, to see. And there's going to be a lot of tank space in there.
That's awesome.
And a lot of hands-on exhibits for interactive exhibits for kids. And we've started a foundation to raise money to help a couple things to finish the construction budget, but also for the educational piece. And we're already looking for some of the ideas that we couldn't have in the original project about potentially if we can raise enough money to add those on in the short term here too as well.
That sounds phenomenal. And you mentioned a little bit, and actually we had Danny from Visit Syracuse on not long ago, and he's actually coming back next week, a little programming note. But he mentioned this as well. And the whole idea of, we've all got our mind wrapped around the aquarium and that building, but to me, it's a matter of zoom out. That whole, and what's neat to me is we're developing in this area that there was nothing. So we didn't displace a single business. We didn't knock down a single house, and we have an opportunity to build neighborhoods, and to me, it's just so much bigger than, as much as I love the idea of the aquarium itself, I can just already see that whole, bustling neighborhood. And now we connect destiny with the city, and it's awesome.
And I'll share with you this little story too. When we were going through the process, the approvals, right? Highly political, nothing new for my job, right? That's what I do. But the overall, the people that were saying, and they're busy, right? Like when you like something, like you don't really call me, right? Sure. You like it. You're like, I'm going on with my day. Cool. McMahon, good idea, right? Like when you don't like something, you can be loud, right? You got a little bit more, so it was hard getting, a lot of folks that actually like it to like think they had to like go through the political process, but companies were the biggest ones that were out there, families, grandma was out there thinking about, moms and dads. But companies use this as a piece of year-round entertainment workforce. And so when you think of Micron, when we hosted, we were very far through the selection process. Mm-hmm. And to the point where we're getting our first CEO visit. And Sanjay was coming into town, and here's a gentleman from California who's coming into Syracuse, New York. I think it was January 3rd, 2022. Wow. And it was freezing. It was beautiful out, right? It was blue skies, sunny, but it was like -3. And so Sanjay came in, and we we took him to the site. We took him to some neighborhoods, brought him downtown, made him get out of the vans in Clinton Square, went to Salt City Market, went to the university, brought him in the JMA Dome, give him a basketball, let him go around. But at the end of it, he and I were in the car all day long, and he goes, well, what do you do on a day like today? And I'm like, wow, we got great things to do, yada, yada. You can go, falls here are the best, summers are the best, right? All these, ag tourism, lakes, water. He goes, no, today. Like, what do you do? I'm like, well, you can snowmobile, you can ski, right? You can go to the mall, you could go to a game. But he's like, Ryan, what do you do today? And what he was, so I got where he was going. We brought him to the Inner Harbor, and we showcased plans of an aquarium. And I think he liked it for two reasons. One, it was a piece of year-round entertainment infrastructure. Yeah. It's open all year round. Our amphitheater we built, right? It's open for about 5 months, right. About 25, 30 concerts. But two, I think what he liked about it, is that the communities we were competing against were Austin, Phoenix, essentially Grand Rapids, Michigan, and let's say Raleigh, North Carolina, right? Sites within proximity to those. So we were really competing against communities outside of Michigan that were above our weight class. And what he saw in us was the ability where you had a community willing to invest in itself. So he could kind of go tell the story to his board of directors, why Central New York, right? And so the aquarium played a role in that. And, so certainly we're excited now that it's up. It's building. It's going to be open next year in July. So this thing is moving, right? You're going to see it moving. You're going to see tanks coming in soon and getting put in. Then it's going to get enclosed, and then you're going to have hundreds of construction workers inside getting your plumbers and steam fitters and electricians getting this thing ready to roll.
That's awesome. I'm very excited about that and just to see it all happen. And, that's the nice thing about so many of these things that we get to talk about today. It's not just sort of kind of hopes and dreams. It's happening right now. You can drive down the street and look at it right now. Drive through the detour and try to look at it right now. Let's, we've touched on it a lot. Let's dip right into Micron. So obviously Micron's coming to town. It's the buzz. So one of the things that I think, or maybe the main thing that has really kept our whole area above water, I feel like right now, and we're hearing, in other parts of the country, real estate is struggling and they're having different challenges, and we're here on this upswing, which is so it feels a little weird to many of us because we're not used to it here. And to some degree, I can understand people's hesitation, but I think again, this is another one of those deals where it's literally happening. The sign just went up in downtown, and I'd love you just to talk a little bit more about the process and then kind of what we can expect.
Yeah, I think so. One of the things to revisit the site selection, right?
Sure.
So why were they looking in Onondaga County? They were looking in Onondaga County because we created the most attractive mega site for manufacturing really in North America with the White Pine Business Park. I inherited a site, which was a greenfield site that the county bought in 1999. I was a freshman in college. And that site just sat there. And at many times over the years, even in my early days as county executive, there was opportunities to put a company there, but National Grid would always be like, don't do that. Like, you don't understand the asset we have here. Yeah. So here's why that site was special. Because this is important for why people, the naysayers, want to say like, oh, they're never going to come.
Sure.
They kind of like have to come for their business. So that site across the street is a National Grid substation. That substation, essentially, if you think of New York State and their power grid, north, south, east, west, that point in the middle where everything intersects is there.
Oh, wow.
So that site has the ability to produce 5 gigs of power. To give everybody context, Micron at a 4 fab build out will use about 2 gigs.
Wow.
So think about the rest of the power there.
Sure.
Now, I think power long term, it's not about us having power. It's about the cost of power. That's why we got to bring on more power, right? So in addition to that, we have a pipeline directly from Lake Ontario, which comes all the way down through Oswego County to Onondaga County. So we have water that really many communities in the world do not. And so if you think about a product that needs a lot of water, needs a lot of power, really important. Then we have a wastewater system where the county essentially runs it regionally. So that means we can make bets in clay that will support the whole region, but we get to spread the cost out to the whole county, not one town, right? And so because of that, we can make the investments you need to support an industry like the semiconductor industry. Sure. So you put that together, we got 300 acres. 2019, we get a look, TSMC. They eventually pick Arizona, right? That's all that action in Arizona. We had a shot at it. Our site wasn't big enough. So we immediately go and, through a little bit of dumb luck, look at expanding that site, end up, that we start talking to the Intel Corporation. And Intel puts us through a process. And every time we talk to them, they come back to us and they're like, well, you look good, but you're not big enough. And meanwhile, like 2 weeks before, we went out and like optioned up like another 100 acres.
Yeah.
So I was like, what do you mean we're not big enough? I just bought more land for you. Right. What are you talking about? So eventually we're doing this with Intel, and all of a sudden we have over 1,000 acre site. So an official mega site. And then we continue to make the site bigger, eventually running into a neighborhood. So I had to negotiate with essentially 40 homeowners, which was brutal.
Yeah,
but everybody, what happened? We had a deal, right? I got a deal with you, and you're getting 350, and then you hear your neighbor's getting 400. So even though you got a signed contract, you want 400, right? So this game of chicken went on for about a year, but eventually we put together a 1,400 acre site. Some of that we specified for Micron, we get Micron. So the main reason Micron's here is because they have a site where they can make a product, and they have the power, the water, the wastewater, and enough acreage to do it and have a mega campus. Second is the community, right? The ability to recruit, retain, and develop a workforce. That's community assets, educational partnerships, right? And then the third is the business deal, right? Incentives. We got to be better than our peers in other states. And the federal government needed to step up because we needed to be cost effective with Asia. And so all that happens, they pick us. So now once you go there, one of the things about New York is, we're a high regulation state. In some cases that's good. In some cases that's not so good.
Sure.
This one's like a blend, right? We want to protect the environment, but we're not even the Cadillac of environmental protection.
Yeah.
We're like the Lamborghini of environmental protection. And so we're going through this environmental review for the last year and a half at the local or at the state and local, which the county are the lead agency, and at the federal level, the Department of Commerce. We got through our draft environmental impact statement. Our public comment period, we're getting close to having that done. That triggers our ability to break ground. Breaking ground means that, and that will be in this year. I don't want to pinpoint an exact date yet because there's going to be a time where we're ready and there's going to be a time when everybody can show up. But Micron has already brought on Gilbane as the lead for phase 1 of their construction. Massive contract, close to $1 billion contract. We've never had $1 billion investment in this. And this contract's just to clear the site, build roads, secure the site. Their second construction component is building a rail spur off the CSX rail line because they're going to bring in a lot of that fill for the site and a lot of the materials through rail so that we don't have trucks going through as many trucks. And then the third component, they're going to pick a general contractor to build the fab, lay down the foundation. Building one fab is about a $25 billion investment. And so we're going to build 4 of them. And we're going to build 2 of them really in the next 5 years. These fabs take about 3 years, maybe bleeding in a little more towards 4 years to actually finish.
Yeah.
Micron's building one in Idaho right now. That's taking a little bit longer, but I think they'll get better at fab building by the time we're ready here. But in 2026, you're going to see this site cleared. You're going to see massive foundations poured and start a vertical construction. By the end of 27, it's going to look like a city of vertical construction and enclosed vertical construction. And then certainly you're going to have thousands of construction workers working locally from around the state, the Northeast, but there will be some coming in from the area. And that's a huge economic stimulus.
Absolutely.
But the other thing with this though, that we're working really hard on, we're going to build the supply chain for Micron and get them to co-locate. We're investing in more money to create more sites and proximity for the industry. And we'll have tooling companies and gas and chemical companies and material supply companies coming here. And, we already have probably, I'll say like soft commitments. They're just kind of waiting for that shovel to get in the ground. But I think we're going to be talking about a lot of new investment, a lot of foreign direct investment here as well.
That's so great to hear. One of the things I wanted to ask you right along those lines, and I'm glad you mentioned that, is, we're talking about these different opportunities and these different things coming to town from a perspective of a current local business owner. So I own an IT business and I own a digital marketing company. What opportunities exist for folks like me to get a piece of that business, or even just, different opportunities in general in the area that folks like me should look into? Yeah,
think of it this way. You have a whole new industry coming, right? So it's an industry. The semiconductor industry is coming.
Yeah.
Right. And so if you think about the opportunity to do businesses with that, you also have, for the first time, you'll have, rapid population growth happening. Mm-hmm. So there's more people, and with that will come more innovation in other segments of the community, more community growth, a lot of new housing. And so that represents just business opportunities. There's more buyers, there's more consumers, there's more economic activity. Micron, just with their employees, at like today's wages, is almost like $1 billion of new payroll.
Wow.
Like think about that into the economy.
Yeah.
And what that means. Right. And so I think, let alone a new industry, and just so everybody knows, like the infrastructure we have and what we're building for them, other industries going to be able to take advantage of it.
Sure.
Right. I'm creating tons of water capacity. We're creating wastewater capacity. National Grid's investing in their infrastructure to create more energy capacity. So like it's not just the semiconductor industry.
Yeah.
We want to be the high-tech manufacturing hub for the Northeast of North America. And so like, we're not done, right? Like that's the thing, like we're not done. Once you can experience the success, once you've lived through it and you know what it takes to execute on it, and that's where we are now, like you're better positioned to go do it again. And just like McDonald's and Burger King, once you build the workforce, you build the infrastructure, you got that anchor tenant, it's easier for another company to come into and plug and play. So I really believe, I was just at a groundbreaking or ribbon cutting this morning at the new Inspire Hub, the tech hub downtown, which in our convention district, which we're a partner with. And this guy who sold a company in the food tech space came here. His wife works at SU. He came here because of a job through his wife, right? And like this guy's like super talented. Yeah. Obviously, he's a young guy, already done really well, and he's creating a venture fund for like that space. And he said to me, "This is like Austin 15 years ago." Yeah, and I was like, "Damn right it is."
Yeah, no, I can say from firsthand experience, the startup community around here is phenomenal, and luckily, there's been a lot of investment from all different sources to support that. And I'd just love to see more and more of that. Any tips that you can give folks to best position themselves for any of these? Is there particular news to follow or groups to join or things like this to sort of be connected and position yourself well for these?
Yeah. If you're in the building world, right, the construction world, the demands for this space are going to be so high that really like we can't source it all locally. Yeah. Like, so you're going to have there's going to be so much work, whether it's you working directly with Gilbane, who had an event with subcontractors and had hundreds of people, whether it's whoever the new general contractor is, whether it's whoever is going to be the contractors building out supply chain buildings, because these gas and chemical companies aren't here. They can't. That's unique, right? They're going to have to build, whether it's all the thousands of new housing units that are going to be going up, or the transformation of old buildings into new buildings with purpose, or whether it's just fixing up the existing housings. Your competition is going to get less in certain areas because a lot of these folks are going to be on these monumental jobs. So there's going to be a huge pie for that. For other companies, like I highly encourage you to follow what's going on, get involved in your local government, what's going on, go to look at a town board agenda, look at the progress and make sure that your voice is being heard.
Sure.
Because how this works sometimes is there's a little bit of NIMBYism, right? And growth is scary.
Sure.
For people that aren't used to it. So like at these board meetings, sometimes you got like the same 20 people that go every time, right? And so the only people you ever hear from are the same 20 people.
Yeah.
And for example, those 20 people say are against something.
Sure.
But the vast majority of the community is like, we think that's a good idea. You got to balance that out, right? Yeah. And so I think getting engaged civically is important. I think getting engaged with your local Chamber of Commerce's, wherever you are, is important. Your associations from a broader scale, even your state associations are important because the state policy can help accelerate what's happening, or it can help slow it down. So you got to understand the impacts of everything. So I would just say it's like a historic call to action for people to get in the game.
Just plug in and you can be there. All right. So last thing I want to ask you, and I'll let you on your way. You got lots more businesses we got to open here around town. What is one of your favorite activities, recreational activities for folks, families to do in Onondaga County? So somebody's coming here, whether it's Micron or Joe on the street that you meet in the airport, and they say, I'm coming to Central New York for a day. Where do you send them?
So I think, there's a lot. And I think this time of year, there's a lot. And so I've always argued fall is where we live is the best place in the world. And so right now, Saturdays on Farm Fest, right? You can go and visit all these farms that have 11 farms that open up their doors and used to make one product. Now they make other products, and they have tourism, ag tourism and whatnot. But if you can come and you can go to a park like Onondaga Lake Parkway, it feels like you're on vacation. On the Loop the Lake Trail. If you can then go to downtown Syracuse and walk through squares and see beautiful old buildings that are coming back to life, you get a sense of a big city. To go to Beacon Skiff or other apple orchard, Tim's Pumpkin Patch, unique, special. And then I really do think one of the things that makes us like super special is our water, not just from a natural resource, but a recreational aspect.
Sure.
Going to Skinny Atlas Lake, Oneida Lake, obviously we have Onondaga Lake with our parkway. Atisco Lake's more of a homeowner lake, but like to go to see a Finger Lake or go to Oneida Lake where you can potentially be on the water and then go into waterfront communities, even though they're maybe not in Onondaga County, all of them. It's just super cool. Yeah. Right? Like it just is. And the other thing too, if you're living here, the quality of life here is like, we're going to have all these jobs, but you are literally an hour and a half away from Old Forge in the Adirondacks. You're an hour away from the Thousand Islands, which is literally the 8th wonder of the world, in my opinion. The Finger Lakes, we have them here, but next door, they keep on coming, right? Yeah. So, wine trails, it just, there's a ton to do. Yeah. Especially this time of year. And I'm giving you more things to do in the winter, right? I love it. And so, you're going to have an aquarium, state-of-the-art aquarium. So I think if you're going to spend a day, you're coming here, your outdoor activities, your downtown, arts, culture, a lot of family friendly things. Obviously the zoo is ours. We're very, partial to our zoo. Go see the twin elephants. So there's a lot to do.
That's awesome. I love it. And I really, really appreciate you spending some time with us and spreading the good news about Onondaga County and obviously beyond. That's a nice thing about everything that we've talked about here is, we're focused on where we live, but the impacts radiate well beyond these borders here. There's so many, they're feeling it across the state, and it's so neat to see. And of course it's sort of anchored in other parts of the state where they're not quite as good as us, but up and coming and really encouraging. And it's just a great time to be in New York State, I feel like. So. Yeah,
especially upstate. I think we're on a comeback. What we're doing here is going to help all of our bedroom communities that, Oswego County, Madison County, Cayuga, Cortland. But I think the more success we have in developing this cluster will brand us on a national stage and an international stage, and more people will want to be a part of that. And I think literally at some point there's not going to be land for that here, right? So that makes maybe communities outside of central New York attractive because you can still be here to do business with this cluster. You can be an hour away in Monroe County or in Oneida County, right? So I think overall what we're doing is going to change the trajectory of upstate New York for generations to come.
Yeah, it's awesome stuff. So, and that's what we're here to talk about. So, folks, Ryan McMahon, County Executive, real quickly, we asked everybody to give the plugs. Where's the best place for folks to kind of follow along with this stuff?
So I think overall, you can follow me on Facebook, social media, the county page is Facebook, Instagram, whatnot. We try to give messages almost every day. I try to give a message every day. The overall, but I mean, look, the county economic development page on Micron, we got a new kind of comprehensive update that we're putting out, so in and so out. But we're going to be all over this. We're going to have, this is going to be key. One of the cool things is we talked about the supply chain. We're hosting an international delegation from Japan, where we're going to have 50 individuals, 24, maybe even the list gets bigger, but at least 24 companies coming. And then they're going to SemiCon West, which is a conference that I go to every year and market our community and have had success. It's funny, when I used to go to that conference before Micron, people wouldn't want to talk to me, but now I'm the popular kid. So they all want to talk to me now. Great. So it's pretty productive. So there's a lot going on. We're really on global stage right now. There's win after win after win. And what this really does is it creates opportunity for people. And we're doing things in a way that the people who haven't had a lot of fortune, people who've been in poverty, will have a pathway out of that. And that's those jobs.
Yeah.
And so that makes this very rewarding for myself and my team.
I know, when Micron was first announced, they talked a lot about programs to make sure there's transportation from the city and all kinds of things. And that's so awesome to hear. It's just, that's what somebody needs to do it right. And it's so just great to hear that that's happening. So awesome. All right, sir. Well, I will let you go. I could talk to you forever, but I will let you get back to work. And thank you so much again for joining us here on Good News York. Anytime you got something to talk about, we're more than happy to have you. So,
well, appreciate you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks. And that'll do it for us, guys.